Hey there. Sometimes the most impressive engineering is hiding in plain sight. So today, we're going to break down something you probably look through every single day: a window. We're going to see what it really takes to turn a simple piece of glass into a masterpiece of design. Let's jump in. Have you ever really thought about it? What's the difference between a window that lasts a lifetime and one that's leaking and rattling after just a couple of years? Well, it's all in the details, and honestly, it's way more interesting than you'd think. Because here's the thing, a window isn't just one object. It's a complete system. Every single part has a specific job, and they all have to work together perfectly to give you strength, a clean look, and most importantly, to keep the weather right where it belongs, outside. And here's our game plan. It all boils down to 4 key stages for building a really great weatherproof window. We're going to cover the joints that make up its skeleton, the sill that acts as its shield, the glass that lets you see out, and the hardware that brings it all to life. All right, first things first, the frame. You got to think of this as the window's skeleton. If this part isn't strong and perfectly square, then nothing else we do is going to matter. And the real secret to its strength? It's all about how the corners are put together. And this is where you see some real old-school craftsmanship, the mortise and tenon joint. It's a classic for a reason. You have a tongue, that's the tenon, and it slots perfectly into a hole, which is the mortise. It's basically like industrial-strength Lego. It creates this amazing mechanical lock that's so much stronger and more resistant to twisting than just using nails or screws. So why bother with all that work? Well, this is the whole point. That joint is what makes the frame incredibly strong, firm, and keeps it perfectly square. Without that, the frame could warp over time, and suddenly your window is impossible to open or close properly, let alone seal against the rain. And making one is all about precision. You mark it out, you cut the hole, you shape the tongue, you do a test fit, and then finally, you glue and clamp it all together. Every one of those steps has to be just right. But even a perfect frame needs protection, and that brings us to the window's first line of defense. So we've got our super strong frame. Now we have to protect it. And this is where the windowsill comes in. It's kind of the unsung hero of the whole setup. This thing is way more than just a spot to put a plant. It's a critical piece of defensive engineering. You see, the sill has 2 huge jobs. One, it's got to support the weight of the whole window. But its main job, its #1 priority, is to fight a constant battle with water. And it's designed from the ground up to win that fight by shedding every last drop away from the house. It's got some really clever tricks up its sleeve to do that. You've got grooves and weather bars. But the coolest part is the capillary groove. Check that out. It's that little channel on the underside. It acts like a tiny hidden moat. It literally breaks the surface tension of the water so it can't creep back toward the wall. It's just brilliant, simple physics at work. So if you remember one thing about the sill, let it be this. From its angle to its grooves, every single detail in its design is about one thing and one thing only: getting water away from the building. Period. Okay, so we've got a strong frame, and it's protected by a well-designed sill. Now it's time for the magic. Let's give this window sight with glass and movement with hardware. Now, the technical term for putting glass in a window is glazing, and it's not just about popping a pane of glass in there. It's a whole process of fitting it securely and creating a totally airtight and watertight seal, using either traditional putty or more modern weather strips. And just like building the frame, this is all about precision. You measure the opening carefully, you cut the glass to the perfect size, you set it in the frame, and then you apply the putty or sealant, smoothing it all out for that clean, finished look. Done right, there are no gaps, no rattles, just a solid, weatherproof fit. And finally, you've got the hardware. This is the stuff that actually makes the window do its job. You've got hinges that let it swing open, stays that hold it in place, fasteners to lock it shut, and sometimes tower bolts for that extra bit of security. Every piece has a job, and they all work together to make the window useful and safe. So we've seen the right way to do it, but what happens when people cut corners? Well, this is where you really start to see why every single one of those details we talked about is absolutely critical. And these are the big ones, the classic mistakes. Loose joints mean drafts and a weak frame. A flat sill without a slope, that's just an invitation for water to pool and cause rot. Bad glazing leads to condensation and leaks, and using the wrong hardware can just make the window a pain to use every day. Each mistake chips away at the whole system. So what's the antidote? How do you make sure you get it right? Well, there's actually a super simple checklist you can remember. It's just 4 letters, JSGH. Think of it as your perfect window checklist. J for joints that are strong and square. S for a sill that's sloped to get rid of water. G for glazing that's perfectly sealed. And H for the right hardware for the job. If you get those 4 things right, you're going to have a window that performs beautifully for years to come. Because when every part does its job, you get the exact result you were hoping for from the very beginning. The whole point of all this, as the source material says, is to create strong, safe, and weatherproof windows. It's really that simple. So, the next time you look through a window, I bet you won't just see what's on the other side. You'll see the system, the joints, the sill, the glazing, all working together. It really makes you wonder, what other everyday things are hiding that same kind of genius right in front of us? Thanks for joining me.